It's a beautiful summer day here in Sedona, Arizona, and today I'm going to tell you about the top 10 most expensive cities to live in here in the state of Arizona. So before I begin, I want to tell you how I came up with this number. Basically, I am using only one indicator, and that is the average sales price of homes that are either for sale or under contract to be sold in each of the cities that I'm going to give you on this list. That data came from the Arizona Association of Realtors, but I had picked it up on a blog post on homes.com that was published a few months ago that just gave the top 10 cities and the average home selling price. So that is what I am basing this list on. So you can find places in the internet that do something else where they call it the expensive cost of living indicator, where they take the actual average sales price for a home in the city and they divide it by the average income of the people that live in that city, and they come up with an indicator. And if you see those sources, it's going to put Sedona, Arizona as number one. But I really don't agree with that indicator. I don't think it really tells you much at all, because in a city like Sedona, you've got very high home prices. That is true, but really many of the people that lived here are retired, so their income may seem lower than their net worth is, and they're certainly not destitute, but yet the numbers make it look very bad for Sedona. And in those types of lists where you're dividing sales price by income, places like Camp Verde are coming up on the list just because their home prices aren't bad, but the average people that work there don't make that much money, and so I don't think that's a good indicator at all. I am putting the list based on pure sales for home prices, the average price for each city. And I think in that way, if you would see a home or a city that I profiled today and you think, wow, I'd really like to live there, now it gives you a number that you can plan for, and you can make a strategy so that you can live there in a few years if you want. So average sales price for these 10 cities. Coming in at number one on our list is Paradise Valley, Arizona. Now, Paradise Valley has very big and beautiful homes, and the average sales price in Paradise Valley right now is $3.5 million. Now that is quite high, not only highest for the state of Arizona, but it's high for the country. That sales price is more than 600% higher than the rest of the nation, the average sales price, and it rivals places like San Diego. So $3.5 million, although Paradise Valley has been voted the very best place to live in the state of Arizona. And even though there are a lot of retirees there still are very good schools, beautiful landscapes. The homes are a big and natural landscape with good views because they're slightly elevated. There are about, or at least I heard, there were 14,000 people living in that area. I'm not sure if that's totally accurate, and it's about a 15 square mile amount of geography. Now, I'm going to tell you about an experience I had in Paradise Valley. About 20 years ago, I used to raise finches, and so I saw an ad on Craigslist for a finch that I didn't have in my collection, and I connected with the breeder who happened to live in Paradise Valley. So she said, "Come on up, I'll show you the finches." I drove up to her beautiful home. She was so nice and gracious, let me in, gave me a tour of her home, which was about maybe 4,000 square foot. Her husband was working from home in a home office that rivaled a law library. The home had a beautiful view of the whole valley, and she took me out to see the finches, and the finches were in it looked like an exhibition for the zoo. A beautiful exhibit, a huge flighted cage where you had shade, you had misters, fresh food, maybe 300 finches, flying around. And I went in, I found the finch I wanted, paid her my $200 and left. And it was just such a nice experience, such a nice couple, the type that deserves to live in a beautiful home in Paradise Valley. And it was just a great time, and that would be a wonderful place to live. Now, coming in at number two is Scottsdale. Now, Scottsdale has grown tremendously since my family moved here in 1970, and now they're up to about a population of 250,000, which is quite quite big. The average price of a home in Scottsdale is close to $1 million, about $989,000. What's nice about Scottsdale is it is a suburb of Phoenix, so you're close enough to all the action that if you need to do a business deal or work somewhere in Phoenix, you're close because it's a suburb. Now, it is only 1,200 feet above sea level, so it gets very hot in the summer, just like the rest of Metro Phoenix, but there are great schools there, lots to do, golf courses, resorts, museums, all sorts of stuff like that. So Scottsdale coming in at your number 2 most expensive city to live in the state of Arizona. Number 3 is Cave Creek. Now, Cave Creek is just, if you're leaving Phoenix and going north, it's just out of town. Cave Creek has an average sales price of $831,000. Again, they have great schools there. Small population, though, of about 5,600. Slightly elevation of maybe 2,100, because as you start leaving Phoenix, in the central Phoenix, going north, the you start climbing in elevation. So still 2,100 foot. You're going to be super hot all the time, especially in the summertime, but it is still close to everything. A very nice, quaint little place with 5,600 people living there. To me, that sounds about right. About perfect. Coming in at number 3, that's Cave Creek. Now, number 4 is Carefree. Now, Carefree, Cave Creek, they're kind of in leapfrog position. Carefree homes average about $818,000, and they have a population of about 3,360 people living there, but you have a big 89 square mile. I guess that's not too big, but kind of an old West frontier time kind of a feel. Carefree, again, as you're going out of town, north of Phoenix, you're starting to climb in elevation, and that's how you'll come upon Carefree. It has the Spur Cross Ranch Conservation Center, which I've never been to, but that sounds kind of sweet. And that comes in at number 4 on our list of the most expensive places to live in Arizona. Number 5 is Fountain Hills. Now, Fountain Hills, if you're leaving on the east side of the valley, taking the 87, kind of going towards Payson, at Shea Boulevard, if you would go left, you would come across Fountain Hills. Now, Fountain Hills is a nice little place, about 25,000 population, maybe. It's maybe 20 square miles of geography. And of course, it's famous for the Fountain Hills Park. And the Fountain Hills Park has a big, beautiful fountain that goes off every day about dusk, and you can see it from miles away. So I remember back in 1982, I had just graduated high school, and one of my friends was getting married, and I was in her wedding, and she wanted to have the wedding at the Fountain Hills Park right about the time where the fountain would go off, so she could say the nuptials and the fountain would go off and it would be beautiful. And it was a small wedding like that. The issue was, though, it was in the middle of July, and to do an outdoor wedding at 5 o'clock, it was very hot. And of course, all of us ladies were there in our little poofy pink dresses and high heels and pantyhose, hair all pretty and makeup, and we were melting. But I still say it was a beautiful wedding. We didn't have the reception there. Beautiful wedding. I think the bride had a great time, and it is a good time, a good place to do something like that, although I'd recommend you do it in the wintertime and not the middle of summer. Now, number 6 on our list is Sedona. Now, Sedona is where I've chosen to live. I do love it here. The average home price is about $730,000. To me, that seems lower than what I observe, but that could be right because there are quite a few townhomes and condos that are smaller that might bring the average selling price down. 4,300-ish elevation. I mean, like be 4,000 here in the village and 4,500 in West Sedona. So in the summertime, like right now, it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. In the middle of June, it's 90 degrees. To me, it seems hot, but I see in Phoenix, it's already like 103 degrees. So still gets warm, but you're not going to die. It's so hot. 10,000 residents live here, but the thing we have going for us here in Sedona is just so beautiful. Everywhere you look, it's one of the most beautiful places in the state to live. And I think it's a great location because if you go north for about an hour, you get to Flagstaff. South for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, you are in Phoenix. And so it's kind of good that we're central and you can get to the places that you need to go and still live in one of the most beautiful places on earth. So Yes, I'm biased. Number 7 is Gold Canyon. Now, Gold Canyon, if you're in Phoenix and you start heading east, like you're going towards Canyon Lake, say, Gold Canyon is past Apache Junction, not quite as far as a Superstition, or maybe pretty close. Every place I've been in Gold Canyon, you have a good view of the Superstition. Now, I was surprised to hear that the average price of a home is $646,000 there, but apparently it is. It's a small unincorporated part of Pinal County, about 22 square miles of real estate, 12,000 population, way out of the outskirts of town. So a nice place, another nice hidden gem here in the state of Arizona. Coming in at number 8 is a community called Catalina Foothills, where the average selling price is $641,000. Now, this is the area I know the least about because it's towards Tucson. If you're going south towards Tucson, it's probably right before you get into town, close to Flowing Wells. The only reason I know about Flowing Wells is because when I was in high school, we were so small back then. Gilbert was a AA school and we only played other AA schools, and Flowing Wells was always on our football rival list. So towards Flowing Wells, on the north end of Tucson, you have Catalina Foothills, where there's about 50,000 residents, and again, 640,000 average selling price for homes down there, and it's 2,500 foot elevation, so still hot. Now, number 9 is the one that surprised me the most, Wickenburg. Now, Wickenburg, I never expected this to be a super expensive place, but apparently the average selling house is $588,000. So Wickenburg, if you're in Phoenix and you're going to Vegas, probably about an hour out of town, you're going to come across Wickenburg, which to me always seemed like a, very Western type, cowboy type town. But maybe that's why the price is high. Maybe you've got a lot of acreage, and that's why the home prices is very high. I don't know, that's just speculation on my part because I've only been through Wickenburg maybe a handful of times in my life, and I just want you to know that's on the list at number 9. 7,500 people live there, and it's an expensive place to live. Now, coming in at number 10 is Flagstaff. Now, I love Flagstaff. I'm surprised it's not higher on the list. My sources say $587,000 is the average selling price in Flagstaff. To me, it seems higher because anytime I see a reasonably priced home in Flagstaff go on the market, it's sold in a few days. So, but they're telling me 587. Of course, if that source is 3 months ago, it could have gone up some. Elevation Flagstaff is close to 7,000 foot. You have 72,000 residents there. You have the Northern Arizona University, which is I'm an alumni. I graduated there in the 90s, and you have all sorts of stuff to do in the winter. You have snowing and winter sports. In the summer, you've got biking, mountain biking, hiking, boating. You could go to Lake Mary. All sorts of things to do to live there. Flagstaff is wonderful. One of my favorite places in Arizona. So that's it. That is my list of the top 10 most expensive cities here in Arizona. My name's Dawn Dickenson. I live in Sedona and sell real estate up here in the beautiful north part of the state. If you have any real estate questions, drop me a line. My contact information is below. I do sell real estate on a way to make my living, how to support myself, but my YouTube channel is my fun little hobby. So if you like the video, please do me a favor and do the thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe. I post videos here every single week, so I hope I get to catch you back here again this time next week.